And if it was a wild bird, it would not tolerate a whole lot of pressure from the dog. This was what I got for pointing. I would leave this alone. I would run my NA test or my VJP or whatever, maybe give him a hunting season. I can shoot birds over that dog. What we did on the whoa post transfers to the field. So we do whoa, we do belly stim, we do shot, we do flown bird. We do each one of those on the whoa post and then loose in the field. And then we start bringing all those pieces together. Whoa. So when we're working on the whoa post work, this is a new behavior, right? Whoa is basically a standstay. And so we're gonna teach a point of contact on the belly that's gonna be a tactile cue. So I like having all of my neck stimulation with e-collar or with a leash and collar telling the dog to move, right? Move in different directions. And then I reserve the belly to mean stop. That way I have a very clear gas pedal and brake pedal, and the dog doesn't ever confuse what stimulation means for the belly. It always means stop. It's the only thing that it ever means is to stop. We're going to start teaching that by putting a half hitch around his belly. It's tied to a post here in the ground. We're just going to walk basically 12 and 6, 9 and 3, right? We're just walking opposite directions until he gets out to the end of the cord. We're going to draw him out a little bit so there's tension on the back tie and on the slip lead that's around his neck. Once he sets his feet still, then I'm going to try to walk towards him and I'm going to give him food quiet. I'm gonna walk towards him and pay him in place with food. We call this a room service reward. And the reason why we do this is because bringing rewards to the dog while they're stationary helps to add stability to that behavior. And it also helps kind of flatten the dog out a little bit in terms of their arousal level. So when we have rewards that the dog gets to chase and engage in prey drive to go get, it increases their arousal or their intensity level. When we bring rewards back to the dog, then it kind of smooths them out, it levels them out. And for this work, that's what we want. We want calmer, stationary behavior. We want a lot of stability. And so we're going to bring rewards to him. The way that we train whenever we're introducing a new behavior, a new trained behavior, I should say, we're going to always make the dog do it and reward the dog for doing it. So I'm going to use pressure every repetition, and I am going to pay the dog when they do it right every repetition. Over time, we can vary those things. Like you'll see he starts stopping before the line gets tight around his belly. When I see that happen, I know I have a very clear understanding of this work. That's when I'll add my verbal cue of whoa. I do teach dogs a verbal command for whoa because I find that there's a lot of times when it's important to be able to stop a dog, right? So if I drop something in my kitchen, a glass, and it breaks, then I might not want to recall my dog to me. I might not want to send them away from me across that stuff. I might want them to just stop and stand still while I clean up, right? That's a good example that has nothing to do with hunting, just having a good companion dog. That kind of stuff, for that reason, it's important that they understand the word whoa. So we're going to still do stuff like the bird means whoa, shot means whoa, all that kind of stuff, but I need to make sure that the dog will stop when I tell them verbally as well. So I'm going to start walking the dog out to the end of the line, and I'm going to move slowly because I don't want him to hit the end of this line hard, right? So we just want to kind of walk him out to the end, and then I'm going to stretch him out here until he sets his feet. So this isn't a ton of pressure. If he decides to flail around all crazy, then this is going to become more intense for him, but he's the harbinger of his own discomfort under those circumstances, not me. Okay, so we're going to hold this here until he sets his feet and he's quiet, and then I'll relax my pressure. He moves, we're going to draw him back out again. I'm going to relax my pressure, and then I'm going to pay him in place. A little bit of tap dancing is fine, but I can just stop for a second and withhold food until he's still, and then I try to deliver this quickly while he sets his feet. Okay, and now I need to give him some clear cue that he's allowed to move. So we're going to say, okay, right? So we're going to draw him back out, just make sure he stands. Stand up, buddy. Good. No, stand. We put pressure downwards if we need to help him stand up for the dogs that want to keep sitting. Okay, there, we're good again. So I'm going to step in and pay. And this is the first time we've ever done this with him, so he has no clue what he's supposed to do. All right, so we're just going to be patient. Now I'm going to release him. Okay, we're going to walk to the opposite end and just do the same thing. Okay. So a little bit less tap dancing every time. This will also clean up more when we switch to e-collar, right? Because I have a way to continue applying pressure until he sets his feet. That's just a little bit more user-friendly to fix that minor detail. Okay? I'm turning the slip lead so it's under his chin. It's just gonna help keep his head up off the ground a bit. And that is one other thing that I'll correct him for in this exercise is if he drops his head, then I wanna get him to have an understanding early that dropping your head down to sniff is not part of this behavior of whoa. Okay, so already a lot more stability. This is like our third rep, right? So he's comfortable. He goes, okay, set my feet still. You bring me a reward. This makes sense. Fine, no problem. I'll do it. This is easy, right? Let's go. Good. Okay, now we can start, since he's starting to have an understanding of this, he's stopping when he hits the end of that line. He's not really flailing anymore. Now we're gonna start walking towards him. I wanna pet him some, right? Can I walk around you a little bit? Do you move? When you move, I pull you back out to the end and then we relax. I'm gonna move again. He stays still with the same level of distraction, so I'm gonna make a point to pay that, right? So now I wanna see, can we get like all the way around you maybe? Okay, and then we'll keep moving. Good man. So we're gonna step in, pat again. Can I walk around him? Moves a foot there. It's just one. We'll leave it alone for now. Okay. Can we start other distractions? Can I throw a hat? We do little stuff at first. Normally the dog's gonna wanna turn and mark, so we're gonna check that stuff, right? Good. Moves there, we have another opportunity to put pressure. We're reiterating the behavior. Once he sets his feet again, I'm gonna remind him that that was the right thing to do. I pay a little bit, correction there, head dropping. Step back in and feed. Let's go. He's setting his feet better. When I have to reapply pressure, he is showing me that he understands. So now we'll start adding a verbal cue. Since I know belly means stand still, he understands that. If I want to classically condition a new command, then all I'm gonna do is just use the new command before the known command. So I'm gonna kind of look over my shoulder, and right before he hits the end of this line, I'm going to say whoa. So we're gonna walk, whoa. And then pressure happens, which is the known cue, right? We have a known tactile cue, so we're adding our verbal cue right before it. We'll pay this, and then now we just gotta get reps of this. Let's go. Whoa. One of the other things I like to do is try to apply pressure to get the dog to move out of the behavior. And when he resists that, he's saying, I know I'm supposed to keep my feet still in this exercise, then I'll turn that pressure off and pay him. You'll notice the pressure I'm applying now is from the side, right? Because the forward pressure was part of the teaching. So I'm trying to pull him off balance, and he's resisting that, and I want to pay that. So we pressure, he moves, we draw him back out, set your feet, pressure. I won't make that mistake again. Pay, come around to the other side, pressure, moves, draw him back out. Pick him up, no sir. Pick him up, good. Pressure, good. Pressure, good. Let's go. Whoa. To help him stand up, I'm tapping my foot against the knee of his back leg on the opposite side. Let's go. Whoa. Let's go. Whoa. Let's go. Whoa. So this rep is the first one where he stopped before he hit the cord. So I said whoa on this one, and he actually set his feet and stopped forward movement. So I pay extra for this repetition, and that's where we stop with this dog for his first session. Okay. Hello, Aura. Once my dog will stop on verbal command before they hit the end of the line, then we're going to take a break from verbal command for a little bit and just make sure that the belly collar will work as well. I have an e-collar, the remote is in my pocket. This e-collar has a finger kick, which means it has like a ring you can wear on your finger with a button. I can't adjust my level without pulling my remote out of my pocket, but this does let me have both hands free to work on stuff. So I just wanted to mention that before we get started. What I'm gonna do is walk the dog out to the end of the line. This is now just attached to her flat collar. There is no half hitch. The e-collar's around her belly. I'm gonna walk her out, and then what I'm going to do is just tap on the belly with the e-collar right before I say whoa, and I'm gonna go up one level at a time on this e-collar until I find a level that I know that she can feel. And then because this is still learning phase, we're still gonna bring food back to the dog to reward them. So we're gonna walk. Whoa. So again, this is, I might have said it incorrectly when I was just talking about it, but it's new command in front of the known command. So I know that this dog knows whoa, so I'm gonna tap on the belly and then tell her whoa, because we're classically conditioning this stimulation. Whoa. Correction there. So dogs anticipate, right? I'm walking by, she thinks she needs to flip into heel position, and we're gonna go the other direction. We've done this drill a bunch, right? So I need to stop her there and help her understand. You do this when I tell you to, not whenever you feel like it, okay? Standing still, that's good. I can pay her here. Good. Let's go. Whoa. I'm gonna try to hold my hand up when I stim so that people know when I'm applying e-collar. So when my hand goes up, I'm on the button. When my hand goes down, I'm off the button. That way everybody understands the timing. If she didn't stop, I can still draw her all the way out to the end of this, right? And then I can keep pressuring the belly until she sets her feet still. What I wanna make sure we understand though is that I'm trying to create a tactile cue more than a correction at this point. My levels on the e-collar should be low enough that she can think very clearly. She's not defensive at all about it, and it's not creating like suppression at all, right? Let's go. So that time, e-collar, no command. I want to see, can I pull her out of this position? I don't have to use a ton of pressure, but I want to pull, see that she stays where she's supposed to. She's actively resisting, fighting to stay in behavior, and then I'll relax that pressure and pay her. So now, she sat down, so I stim the belly, and that's what I want to see, that she stands back up, and then I can pay her again. Okay, this is all learning. It's not a correction. It's just me re-cueing the behavior with low level on the e-collar. Step back in, feed, move away. Let's go. Okay, same thing again. So now I know for sure that my e-collar means something to this dog, and now I am able to run her in the field loose, and then I want to see that I can actually stop her with the collar. Okay. So I want to let her loose. Okay. Bird's there, right? Okay. So I want to see now she's not on whoa post, and can I still use my belly collar to stop her? What I like to get in the habit of doing with my dogs if I'm prepping for tests, I don't care so much for hunting, but for tests, I'm gonna make a point to walk up to my dog and release them by tapping them on the head every time. That way they don't get in this habit of self-releasing. They understand when I tell you to stop, it means I'm gonna come to you, and then you're allowed to leave and go hunt again when I tell you you're allowed to. Hunt him up. A little bit of sniff in there, so we need to turn our collar level up some. Okay, hunt him up. All right, so I want to be able to see in the field that my tools still work. So now I have this, I have everything that I need. I'm gonna go back to my whoa post now. We're gonna do stop to shot with a blank gun. We're gonna do stop to flush with just a hand release bird. What we're trying to do here is, in a very controlled situation again, teach the dog that shot is just another command to whoa, and that bird in the air is just another command to whoa. So we go back to the whoa post to do that first, and then we're gonna come back out in the field again, free run the dog, and then we're gonna hand throw birds, and we're going to fire blank guns while the dog's running. I need to see that either of those signals bring the dog to a stop. Or a here.
Hope you're enjoying the video. I just wanted to stop in real quick and let you know that if you're in the market for anything bird dog related, our friends Kat and Ethan over at Standing Stone Supply have you covered. Whether it's bumpers, launchers, med kits, or even pigeons, they'll get you taken care of. If you need to know how to use the equipment, they have you covered in that department as well. They have the complete step-by-step training courses no matter which type of bird dog you're trying to train. So the next time you're in the market for anything bird dog training related, be sure to go see standingstonesupply.com. Use code GDIY at checkout to save 15%. Now let's get back to the video.
All right, so after we have all of our woe post work done, we know that our belly collar works. Now what we're going to do is still have the dog connected to the woe post, but we're gonna actually verbally woe them, and then we're gonna walk out in front, we're gonna fire the blank gun. Most dogs have had a hunting season or two before we start this work, so when they hear a gun go off, it's very deeply conditioned already that they're going to be looking for a bird, right? And they're gonna wanna run to go retrieve that bird. So knowing that that's going to happen, I want to walk the dog out basically to the end of this line so they don't run 20 feet and clothesline themselves. Okay, so we're going to walk way out or a heel. Whoa. So I woed her verbally. There's no e-collar pressure at all. We're going to shoot our blank gun. And what I want to see is that the dog stands still. If the dog doesn't stand through this, we just apply pressure to the belly, gradually going up in level until she sets her feet. Once she sets her feet, we can come back and reward her for doing so. You'll notice all of this, the dog's posture is not showing me that she's stressed out by this at all or that she's bothered by it. But what it is showing me is that she's very neutral. She's calm, her tail's down, it's not tucked. This is how I want this to look. This is just straight up obedience work. It is out of drive. So I want the dog to be calm and relaxed here. When we do this in the field, there's gonna be birds flying, getting shot, hitting the ground, right? So that's gonna increase the arousal level very highly. So I don't want to have the dog already in a high state of arousal and then give them a command whoa that's also been conditioned in high arousal. I want whoa to bring them down a little bit, right? So that's why we're doing all this very low energy here, right? Okay, good girl. Or a heel. Whoa. Same thing again, whoa the dog, walk out, blank gun. You see tail wag, right? We get a little spike in arousal, but she keeps it together. That's what I want to see here, right? And then we'll pay again. Leave it. Okay, little correction there. Dropping your nose to sniff the ground when you've been woed, not allowed. I'm not going to let her drop her head, even if I drop food there. So we correct that. I want it to be very clear that when I tell you, whoa, your head's up, you do not drop your head down. When the head goes down, then the feet are gonna start moving, right? So we're not gonna let that happen, okay? Heel. Whoa. Okay. So like one of the things that I want to talk about in this whole thing we're doing here, Nick, is you see the change in the dog's emotional state when we're working on different stuff. You watch that happen with people working their dogs all the time, but they're not paying attention to it. Those things can be really intentional. So we're working on the whoa post. I'm telling her whoa. You see that flattens her out a little bit, and that's intentional. And then when I release her, you see all the excitement and stuff, right? So like these things have been intentionally conditioned. I just think a lot of people let those things happen by accident, right? This is why you see some people tell their dog fetch and the dog's like, right, before they go. That's the kind of stuff. We're just trying to pay attention to those things. So we'll do a flighted bird now, and then we'll combine that with a shot. And then actually, let's take a walk and we'll do the same thing we did with just the belly stim. And then, so I just want to shoot and show that she stops in motion for that. And we'll let her run a little bit more because they get tight, right, if you're doing a lot of obedience. Hey, come on, let's go. My dogs are already like not the biggest runners, but then you have so many damn rabbits here, it's making them look like they don't go anywhere. Oh, goodness gracious. Poop number 2. That's got to be the cover image for the video. Ready? right? So no e-collar pressure there. That's what we want to see, right? Is that the dog stops. Again, she drops her head to sniff. We give her a little correction there. I'm a little high on the collar, like her response to the collar is a bit more than I would like it to be. So I'm gonna go down a little bit and level, but that's the gist of it. So we wanna see that what we did on the woe post transfers to the field. And we do this for each one of these steps individually before we combine them back together. So we do woe, we do belly stim, we do shot, we do flown bird. We do each one of those on the woe post and then loose in the field. And then we start bringing all those pieces together. But if I have one that's not working or is weak in the field by itself, combining all of these things that create a lot of excitement for the dog isn't gonna make it better. So we just wanna make sure each one of these signals tells her stop and stand still. Okay. So most people that I'm training with at our NAVDA chapter, they live in apartments, condos, places where they can't keep pigeons. And so usually the birds they're using are pen race chucker and they're expensive. And so if they're gonna work on an exercise like this where they need to get multiple repetitions of this steadiness work on the woe post, then using a tether, right, these are gonna go around the bird's legs. So I can throw that bird and basically simulate a flush and then the bird can't fly away, right? So I'm gonna do this over and over again. So this is similar to people using like a hose or carded pigeons, right? So they kind of fly a little bit and set back down, I guess. But I'm actually gonna hang on to the other end of this. So that bird's gonna fly around a bunch, but it's not actually gonna be able to get away from us, and then we'll be able to reuse it. So typically when I'm telling people this, they can use the same chucker 2 or 3 times, and then they gotta put it away and grab another one. They're still usable at that point if you rest them for a couple days, right? For whatever other work you're gonna do. But you can get a lot of reps in that way, and then you're not having to spend a bunch of money. So if I don't have birds that I can just let fly away because I either can't afford that or because I don't live in a place where I can keep pigeons, then this is kind of our next best thing. When you put these on the bird's legs, I move it all the way up above kind of like that knee joint, because if you put it lower than that, they tend to slip off. And you see some birds when they fly, they can injure themselves if you don't put it high enough on their leg. That's been my experience. So I'll actually go grab the bird now and we'll do that. Like most things, this is easier with 2 people, but you can do it with 1. So I'm trying to get this on this bird's leg, and I want it up here. So there's that joint. I want it above that joint. And then I'm gonna pull this tight like that. And then we'll do the same thing on the other one. And I don't like doing just 1 foot because I imagine that's a lot of force that the bird would be putting on just 1 leg. So I feel like it's a lot more likely you're gonna injure them. And especially since we're doing this with Nick's homers, I would like to get invited back here. So I don't wanna mess up any of his birds. All right, so we'll set it up like that, and then I'm gonna put this bird back in the bag, and then we'll get the dog hooked up to the woe post again, and we're basically doing the same exact drill we've been doing, enforcing it the same way. I'm gonna woe the dog, throw the bird, and then if the dog takes a step after that, I'm gonna apply pressure to the belly, and we'll continue stimming on the belly until the dog sets their feet still, and then once they do, I can pay them. Now at this point, we're using a bird, and so we're always trying to balance this idea of hope and struggle. And so if the thing the dog is struggling with is not pursuing a bird, me bringing food back to the dog sometimes is not a great reward for them. So at this step, I would often be delivering them a retrieve of a dead bird, right? So if I already had a dead chucker, dead quail, something like that, then I'm throwing a live bird, letting it fly, the dog stands still, I bring a retrieve to them. Again, this is gonna depend, what's rewarding to your dog and how rewarding it is depends on your breed of dog, like their genetics, but also how much you've built desire for this stuff. We lean very heavily on the dog having a high desire to retrieve. So my dogs like possessing birds. If you have a dog that they'll point birds all day, but then they're gonna run and just kind of stand near them, they don't really care too much to have them in their mouth, then that's not likely gonna be a super powerful reward for them. You can just do this step with pressure, right? So I don't have to pay the dog every step along the way. I just like to do that because I find it helps keep their attitude in check. And if I'm showing them that the exact thing I'm telling them to stop pursuing is what I'm going to give them if they stand still, then I think dog logic, they just kind of understand that, okay, I don't need to move and I'm going to get what I wanted anyway by doing it your way. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to get across to them, I guess is the best way to say that.
You want me to go grab a frozen dead bird?
If you have one, yeah, that's cool.
Which bird do you want?
A pigeon or a chucker, quail, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, quail, that'd be cool.
All right.
All right, I'll take that from you. Thank you. Yeah, you like quail, huh? Heel. All right, so when we're working on this step, you just gotta remember your dog's got a length of line and then I've got a length of line on this bird. And so I need to make sure that if everything goes bad, my dog can't catch the bird, right? So we'll heel her out or heel. Heel, whoa. We'll heel her out all the way to the end and then I can stand further out and throw this bird. I'll stem the belly if I have to, if the dog moves. Otherwise, I'm gonna pick the bird up first and then bring a reward back to the dog. I don't want a reward in play that I don't have control over in this step. So we're gonna toss this bird. Okay. I'm gonna retrieve this bird first. We're gonna put it away, and then I'll present my dog with their reward. Yes. Good girl. Give. Okay, we'll repeat the same thing again, heel. Whoa. If you landed in that shot, Pigeon, I think we need to pay you. So same thing again, I'm not gonna reward the dog until I have control of the bird again, and then we'll mark and pay. Yes. Give. Good girl. Heel. Whoa. Yes. All right, and then when my dog will stand for the bird without me having to pressure it with the e-collar, then we're gonna go back to running in the field, and when the dog is running, I might handle if I have to get the dog to turn my direction, and then I'll hand throw that bird. The thing you gotta be careful about at that step in the process is all of this steadiness work that we're doing is gonna make the dog tighten up some in terms of their range generally. It's also gonna make them kind of more focused on the handler than we probably want them to be. So when I'm running them in the field and I'm doing this stop to flush stuff, if I do too many, it's really gonna suck the dog in. If I hand throw birds, that tends to pull the dogs in. If I want to kind of help the dog stretch back out, I can put birds in launchers to do this stop to flush part, but I need to try to make sure that my dog is getting handled so that they are upwind of the birds, because this isn't a scenting drill. This is a sight-based drill. I want the dog to see a bird in the air, not smell it right now. And then that visual, I want to see them stop, right? When they see that bird fly in the air. So we have options here. Again, hand throwing birds is going to make the dog focus on you more because the rewards are literally coming from you, right? And then if we put launchers out in the field, that can help the dog be more outwardly focused away from the handler, and it can help pull them back out. So you see some people do way too many hand thrown birds for stop to flush, and then the dogs suck in too tight. I already run small running, like dogs that don't run big, so I'm not going to do a lot of stuff that's going to make them be working even tighter to me, right? Okay. I am gonna try to let her walk a little bit so she just loosens up, right? We're doing a lot of obedience right now, so the dogs start kind of being like, gotta be on my best behavior. Hunt them up.
Can Can you explain to me where you draw the line between positive punishment and corrections and negative reinforcement to the woe, and how that transfers from the woe post into the field?
Yeah, so for me, positive punishment can only really happen after the dog's been given a signal that means to stop and they've refused to do that. And so I need to know for sure that they know what that signal was. And then if that signal doesn't cause them to stop, then we'll apply correction. And the reason why I'm using the word correction instead of positive punishment is because technically if I'm applying pressure and it does make the dog do the behavior, it would still be negative reinforcement. So I'm not just going like, you didn't stop, bang, and there's punishment there. What I'm saying is you didn't stop on the cue I wanted you to. Now I'm going to apply enough pressure to you that you already know the only way to turn off is to set your feet. And so that's still negative reinforcement. It just becomes a corrective level. So when I think about this, there's a communicative level of pressure you can use, and then there's a corrective level of pressure you can use. One is saying, do this, and the other one is making the dog say, God, I really want to do that, so I turn this off, right? Maybe that's the best way to say it. A lot of that language gets really muddy, and that's part of the problem in dog training is you have people that use really, snake, what are you doing? Turtle, snake, or leave it. It's got to be a snake. Or here, good. I don't know what else it could be. I saw something moving in the grass there. Cut him up. She likes to bring me turtles. All right, so when I think she's looking at me, and again, this is a timing thing that we don't always get right, I'm gonna toss this pigeon, and I wanna see that she stops. And so that's what I want, right? Is she just stops and stands still. The thing I really just want to drive home for people is this is all obedience. And so whenever we're doing obedience, we can't be doing drive building. I am either working on control or I'm working on enthusiasm, but generally it's hard to do both. Whoa. Right? So she's taking liberties there, that's a correction, right? She drops her head, she wants to go do other stuff, so I stem her there, that's a correction. Anyway, what I was saying was, this is all obedience, and so you should expect that your dog tightens up, your search deteriorates a little bit, and then once the dog understands all these signals and is very reliable on them, then you really need to space out how often you're doing this stuff. You can really over drill this work. So I do this until I start getting good behavior from the dog like this, and then we're done with this, and then we move on to the next step. And I would probably try to take my dog for free runs in between these sessions if I have time, so that they have runs where they're just loose and I'm not demanding that they stop, right? So anytime we're working on stop, we're killing momentum. And so you're gonna see that that has costs other places. It will all come back together over time, but just expect that to happen. You didn't break your dog, it's normal. Okay.
Hope you enjoyed part 2 of Nate Czarnota's steadiness program. To make sure that you don't miss part 3, then go hit the subscribe button down below. While you're down there, hit the like button, leave us a comment. Also, in the show notes, there's a Patreon link. It's patreon.com/gundogyourself. If you want access to part 3 right now, you can sign up, support the show, buy me a beer, and get access to that video. Hope you learned a lot in this one. We'll talk to you next time.